Yo, what's up, everybody? It is your boy Slim, aka Mr. Different, back with another video. Once again, today we're going to continue understanding effects. Today we're going to be talking about compressors and how they're being, like, what are they for, how to use them, some things you can use them for, and just some general overview about some tips and tricks. Like just like the last video where we went over EQ, we're going to be doing this one about compressors. So, oh yeah, it's going to be a good one. So let's go ahead and look into what is a compressor and different types of compressors and, you know, how they actually operate. And I'll show you some examples of using them with some sound. So these are some examples of compressors right here. Like, these are 4 examples that you'll probably see. You know, you get your stock compressors. Like, this is the basic fruity compressor, which I think is like one of the worst compressors ever. I just hate the way it looks and everything, just a bunch of knobs. So you really don't know what you're doing. Then you got your FL limiter set to compressor mode. As you can see, has basically the same stuff as the first one. I'll go over where they are. And then you see like the normal one, like usually this is like every other compressor. You'll see it look like this. And then it's like a vintage style compressor. Now, what makes up a compressor? There's really 4 components that you need to worry about when working with compressors. That's the threshold, the ratio, the attack, and release. And then the 5th one be the makeup gain. And then there's also extra stuff there, but we'll get into that later. But first, we're going to talk about each individual part. So first off, we'll talk about the threshold. The threshold basically tells when the compressor will activate. So the lower the threshold, anything above that threshold number you set will be compressed. So that's all your threshold is telling you to do. Threshold is telling you when the compressor should start compressing sound. So remember that. It don't mean nothing else. So if you got set to -18, anything over -18 dB will be compressed. If I bring it down to -60, anything above -60 will be compressed, which means everything. If I put up to 0, that means no compression will be engaged at all. So you have no compression. So do remember that. So depending on what you got to set to your threshold set to would determine when you will start compressing your signal. Now, your ratio basically is telling you how much the compressor should compress signal. So the ratio goes like this. It goes in ratios as like 1:1, 2:1, 3:1, 4. So forth, so forth. Now, what does that mean is if I got set to a 2:1, which is like the standard for most compressors, which is gentle compression, that means for every 2 dB, you would get 1 dB of gain going through. So it would compress 2 dB, but you'll only perceive 1 dB. Get it? Same with 3 dB. For every 3 dB, you only get back 1 dB. 4 to 1, same thing, on up, all the way till you get to like 20 to 1 and higher, which is basically limiting, which basically it becomes a limiter, which we'll get into limiters later down the road. I'll talk about limiters later. But yeah, that's what the ratio means. So ratio pretty much determines how hard your compressor is compressing. The attack is basically how fast the compressor will turn this help thing off. The attack will determine how fast the compressor will react to that signal. So a faster attack meaning it will compress sooner. Like, as soon as the signal hits that threshold, it will start compressing. A slow attack mean once it goes past the threshold, it gives a little bit of leeway before it compresses. So attack is basically, like I said, basically what it is, how fast the compressor will activate. That's all that means. Now, your release is how fast your compression will release or let go before going back to compressing again. So a faster release will be like, it will, compress and then release real simple. It'll compress it down, then with no signal release. A slow, it'll gently rise up. So basically, if you have a slow release, that means it will compress and it will gently let go before it starts, doing it again. So basically what it is. So attack and release basically work together. So you have to, those are probably to get the sound you want, you'll really have to work with those 2 the most. Everything else is kind of simple. Your attack and release will determine the sound you will get. Will be more punchy, more transparent, louder, quieter, more level. Attack and release will play a big part. And then your makeup gain will basically is how much makeup gain. So if you're compressing 6 dB, you're losing 6 dB. So you have to give back 6 dB of makeup gain to compensate for the loss of signal that you are, in turn getting. So yeah, that's an example. So that's pretty much how the compressor works. Now, there's other things in there like soft knee, hard knee. Basically, a hard knee means it would be aggressive style compressor. A soft knee would be more of a gentler style compressor. There's other stuff like look ahead, hold, all that. That's just extra stuff for different compressors. But you mostly see knee in a lot of stuff, but not all the time. But most thing you need to focus on is the threshold, the release, the attack, and the ratio and the makeup gain. That's all you need to worry about, because those will determine how your compressor works. Now, let's just go ahead and send some signal through. I'm gonna go and use Fruity Fab Filter Pro CQ2, because you can see the example a lot better. So here goes some signal. As you see, this is just a regular kick drum. Okay, so first off, we're gonna turn my threshold all the way up, turn my ratio down. So we're getting no compression. So a 1-to-1 ratio, no zero threshold, no compression at all. See, no compression. This is the compression, zero compression. So your gain reduction is basically what's gonna be, you know, how much compression you get. So now I'm gonna bring my signal in. So I'm gonna bring it down to about, we're gonna do -20. So I know I'll get some signal compressed. Okay, so as you can see, it also shows going past the threshold, so it's gonna be compressing that. I'm gonna bring my ratio up until I get about, I like to do about 6 dB depending on the sound source, but I like to go 6 dB. So we'll just bring the ratio up till we get about 6 dB of gain reduction. As you see, so let's do a 3-to-1. Okay. Now I'm gonna play with my attack and release to get the sound I want. Now, let's say if you want a, let's see, I want to go for more of a snap. So since we got a kick drum, I don't want to lose my transients. So I don't want to have a super fast attack. So we're gonna just bring the attack up a little bit, probably to about 1 millisecond. And then we're gonna bring the release down so we don't have a long tail to it. Now we're getting too much. We're gonna back off on threshold, can get too much compression. We're gonna restart it. We're gonna bring it back a little bit. Okay. All right, and then if we turn it off, not much difference. And then let's say we're gonna give it some makeup gain. I think this is set the auto. We don't want to do the auto. We're gonna do makeup gains right here. Output level. So we're gonna give it just about a couple dB of gain back. Just kind of make up for that loss of reduction. All right. So remove that. And then I'm still getting too much. And, you know, it's a little bit more snappier. That's before, that's after. You can hear how it gets louder, how it's getting louder in, you know, in volume. And then, you know, it's just a balancing act. At that point, it's just a balancing act. There is no right or wrong way to use compressors. It's all different. All compressors have different sound. Now, if I start doing some weird stuff, like we can do like a super fast attack, super fast release, or slow, you can hear the difference in the change of volume or the sound of tone it gets. So, and if we do the opposite, so we do a slow attack, fast release, you know, you get different sounds depending on how you mess around with it. So you can do the same thing with like a fruity limiter. Like I said, you don't need fab filter. You can do the same thing. So I can just, you know, set my threshold. Set my ratio. Got it used up there. Set it back to what? Well, I have 3-to-1. Set my threshold to about what? Was it 18? Set my attack to about a couple milliseconds. Release down. And see, it has this one has just a different sound. And then unpause it. It has a different sound to it then. Do a soft knee. You know, each compressor has a different sound. And even if you go to like, let's say the VC2A, which is a LA2A emulation, it has a complete different sound before, and it has 2 knobs to it too. So it's basically doing all this in 2 knobs. So we will add in some gain reduction. We get our gain reduction in there, and then we'll bring up the volume. You see, it has it has a complete different sound. So no two compressors are the same, but most compressors have the same functions. Each compressor is going to have its own unique sound depending on how it's been coded, how it's being used. If you're using hardware, using plugins, everything will have its own unique sound and pretty much give you a different flavor of sound every time. One thing about compressors that, you know, people need to know is that you can use them on anything, but you got to be careful with it because every signal is different. Like pianos, vocals, drums, snares, hi-hats, pads, plucks, whatever. Everything has a different type of transient and different type of release and tail, so you have to cater that to your signal. Like I said, I'm not going over how to actually do that. I'm just giving you the basic overview of a compressor, but if every sound needs to be set up a different way depending on what you're using. Compressors can be, like I said, they can be just as good as EQ. They can be less forgiving than EQ. Like if you can really mess up your sound, mess up with compressors. EQ, you can really kind of get away and get a good sound regardless and do a lot of good stuff. With compressors, if you mess the compressor settings up, you're going to mess your sound up. So you got to be careful and play around with listen by ear. And like I said, you can use them on individual channels, master channel, bus channels, great for parallel compression, which I'll be getting to later, and all kinds of stuff. But this, like I said, this is just a basic understanding of compressors in general and how they work. So remember, the threshold is how much your compressor when your compressor react to the sound source. Your ratio is how much compression you are getting. The attack is how fast it activates, and the release is how long it takes to release the compression. And your makeup gain is to give back the gain that you have lost in your signal. So hopefully this guys give you a good overview and a good understanding of compressors and how they're being used. Like I said, I'm gonna do a lot more effects like this, and then I'm gonna get into how to use these in certain situations and getting certain style of effects and all that kind of stuff. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy. Like always, you know who it is. It is your boy Slim, aka Mr. Different. Let me know in the comments below what effects you want me to go over next. You want me to go over reverb, reverb, delays, chorus, flangers, phasers? Let me know. I'm gonna do what I can to make sure. Limiters, I'm probably gonna do that next. I don't know. But let me know what other effects you guys want me to see so I can definitely get those out to you guys as soon as possible. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoy. Like always, you know what it is. Like, comment, subscribe, and review and all that good stuff. And I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.